Now we come to the chapter of the eights. 8 things. 8.1.2 is an important sutta also. Monks, there are these 8 conditions, 8 causes conducive to getting wisdom, not yet gotten, as to first things in holy living, and when gotten, to making it become more, to its development, so that it is made perfect. What 8? Monks, herein a monk dwells near the teacher, or some companion in the holy life, whom he regards as teacher, so that he is firmly established in conscientiousness, fear of blame or a sense of remorse, love and respect. This is the first condition, the first cause conducive to getting wisdom, not yet gotten, as to first things in holy living, and when gotten, to making it become more, to its development, so that it is made perfect. So dwelling and so established, from time to time he approaches his teachers, questioning and inquiring of them thus: Sirs, how is this? What is the meaning of this? To him those reverend sirs reveal what is hidden, explain the obscure, and dispel doubt in many perplexing matters. This is the second condition. When he has heard Dhamma, he strives in twofold seclusion, that of the body and that of the mind. This is the third condition. He is virtuous and lives restrained by the restraint of the Patimokkha. He is perfect in conduct and resort, seeing danger in the smallest fault. He undertakes and trains himself in the preceptual training. This is the fourth condition. Learned is he, with memory retentive and well stored. Those doctrines, lovely in the beginning, lovely in the middle, and lovely in the end, which set forth in spirit and in letter the holy life of purity, perfect in its entirety, even those are fully mastered by him, resolved upon, familiarized by speech, pondered over in mind, fully understood in theory. This is the fifth condition. Living resolute, he puts away all unwholesomeness and takes to wholesome conditions. Firm and energetic, he shirks not the burden of wholesomeness. This is the sixth condition. Moreover, he frequents the order. He is no gossip nor talker on childish matters. Either he speaks on Dhamma himself or asks it of another. Nor does he neglect the Aryan silence. This is the seventh condition. Furthermore, he abides in the contemplation of the rise and fall of the 5 khandhas of attachment, thinking, such is form, such is its coming to be, such is its passing away. So in respect of feelings, perceptions, volition and consciousness, this is the 8th condition, the 8th cause conducive to getting wisdom, not yet gotten, as to first things in holy living, and when gotten, to making it become more, to its development, so that it is made perfect. Presently his fellows in the holy life honor him thus: This reverend sir dwells near the teacher, or some comrade in the holy life, whom he regards as teacher, and there is firmly established in conscientiousness, fear of blame, love and respect. Surely this reverend sir is one who, knowing knows, and seeing sees. Verily this condition is conducive to the state of being dear and esteemed, to becoming made become, to recluseship, and to singleness of mind in making become. And so too for each of the other 7 conditions. These monks are the 8 conditions, the 8 causes conducive to getting wisdom, not yet gotten, as to first things in holy living, and when gotten, to making it become more, to its development, so that it is made perfect. So in this sutta, 8 things are important for a monk to get wisdom, especially if it's a new monk. The first one, he lives with a teacher, so that he can establish conscientiousness or a sense of conscience, and fear of blame or a sense of remorse if he does anything wrong, and also love for the teacher and respect for the teacher. This is the first condition. The second one is, since he has a teacher, then he frequently asks anything that he does not understand, that is in doubt, he asks so that the teacher explains to him the meaning. And the third one, he strives in twofold seclusion, that of body and that of mind. Bodily seclusion is to be physically secluded from other people. Either a person can live in a forest monastery, or the person can live in any monastery, but to be a bit aloof from other people, not to mix too much with other people or talk with other people. But the highest form of bodily seclusion is to live alone from everybody. To live in a forest or in a cave alone, and then that would be the highest degree of bodily seclusion. Mental seclusion is to be secluded from the defilements. That means to practice meditation so that the mind attains one-pointedness of mind, so that the defilements, the thinking, etc., are less likely to arise. And then the third condition is virtuous and lives restrained by the patimokkha, the set of rules, precepts. And after that, he's learned. He's learned in the Dhamma, the discourses of the Buddha. He's well versed with the discourses of the Buddha. The another condition is he's energetic. Energetic in putting away unwholesome states of mind and cultivating wholesome states of mind. And then he's no gossip. He doesn't talk too much. And either he talks about Dhamma or he asks another to talk about Dhamma. And when there's no topic on Dhamma to be discussed, then he keeps the Aryan silence. And then he abides contemplating the 5 khandhas of attachment, the 5 aggregates, form, body, feeling, perception, volition, and consciousness, noting their rising and passing away. So these are the conditions conducive to getting wisdom. The next sutta is 8.1.6. The Buddha said, "Monks, these 8 worldly conditions obsess the world. The world revolves around these 8 worldly conditions. What 8? Gain and loss, fame and dishonor, praise and blame, happiness and suffering. Monks, these 8 worldly conditions obsess the world, and the world revolves around these 8 worldly conditions." I'll just stop here for a moment. These 8 conditions are worldly states, worldly conditions, loka dhamma. And Chinese, in the Chinese Buddhism, they are called the 8 winds. 8 winds which move a person, which shake a person. And then the Buddha continued, "Monks, to the unlearned, common average folk come gain, loss, fame, dishonor, praise, blame, happiness, suffering. To the learned Aryan disciple also come gain, loss, and so forth. Here then, monks, what is the distinction, what is the peculiarity of, and what is the difference between the Aryan disciple and the common average folk? Lord, our doctrines have their foundation in the Exalted One. They are guided by the Exalted One. They have the Exalted One's protection. Well indeed were it for us if the Exalted One would expound the meaning of his speech to us. Then when the monks have heard the Exalted One, they will treasure his words in their hearts." And the Buddha said, "Then listen, monks, give heed, I will speak." "Yes, Lord," they replied. And the Exalted One said, "Monks, gain comes to the unlearned common average folk who reflect not thus. This gain which has come is impermanent, painful, and subject to change. They know it not as it really is. Similarly, loss comes, fame, dishonor, praise, blame, happiness, suffering. They reflect not that such are impermanent, painful, and subject to change. Nor do they know these conditions as they really are. Gain, loss, and so forth take possession of their minds and hold sway there. They welcome the gain which has arisen. They rebel against loss. They welcome the fame which has arisen. They rebel against dishonor. They welcome the praise which has arisen. They rebel against blame. They welcome happiness which has arisen. They rebel against suffering. Thus given over to compliance and hostility, they are not freed from being born, aging, dying, sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief and despair. I say such folk are not free from ill. But to the learned Aryan disciple, just the converse is the case. And that's the end of the sutta. So here, these 8 conditions, they all come to us. We all experience them. But an ordinary person, when he experiences these things, he is moved by them. When what he considers is good, like gain comes, he is very happy. But when loss comes, he is very sad. And these things, gain, loss, etc., take possession of his mind and moves his mind very much. He's moved very much by likes and dislikes. And so because of that, you find this person, most people, ordinary people, they have this monkey mind, which is always happy and sad and excited most of the time. And the only way to overcome this like and dislike is mentioned in the Sakkapanha Sutta in the Digha Nikaya, where Sakka Devaraja asked the Buddha, what is the cause of people quarreling and fighting in this world? And the Buddha said, greed and jealousy. And then Sakka Devaraja asked, what is the cause of greed and jealousy? And the Buddha said, I think like and dislike, I think. And the cause of like and dislike is desire, and the cause of desire is thinking, and the cause of thinking is proliferation of thoughts. And how to stop the proliferation of thoughts? And then the Buddha said, there's 2 types of happiness. One type of happiness is the happiness of thinking. Another type of happiness is the happiness that comes from not thinking. And the happiness that comes from not thinking is the happiness that comes from jhana, jhanic bliss. When a person attains the second jhana upwards, the mind stops thinking. And that kind of happiness is superior to the normal happiness that comes from thinking. People get a lot of happiness from thinking. That's why some people like to daydream. They like to fantasize. They like to imagine. And there's only a type of happiness which is higher than this, which is jhanic bliss. And so the way to overcome these likes and dislikes is to attain the bliss of jhana, so that then we can overcome the likes and dislikes. The next sutta is 8.1.8. Once the Venerable Uttara dwelt near Mahathera on the Sankeyaka mountain in Dhammavuddho. There the Venerable Uttara addressed the monks, saying, Reverend sirs, well it is for a monk to review from time to time his own faults. Well it is for him to review the faults of another. Well it is to review his own attainments. Well it is to review another's. Now at that time the royal Deva, Vesavana, was on his way from the northern region to the south on some business or other. And he heard the Venerable Uttara teaching the monks this doctrine in Dhammavuddho. Then just as a strong man might stretch forth his bent arm, or might bend his outstretched arm, even so the royal Deva, Vesavana, disappeared from Dhammavuddho and appeared among the Devas of the 33. And Vesavana approached Sakka Devaraja and said, Your Grace, I would have you know that this Venerable Uttara in Dhammavuddho on the Sankeyaka mountain near Mahathera teaches this doctrine. Well it is from time to time to review one's own faults. Well it is to review another's. Well it is to review one's own attainments. Well it is to review another's. Then as a strong man might bend and stretch out his arm again, Sakka, king of the Devas, disappeared from among the Devas of the 33 and appeared before the Venerable Uttara in Dhammavuddho. And Sakka, the Deva king, approached the Venerable Uttara and saluted him and sat down at one side. So seated, he said, Is it true, sir, as they say, that the Venerable Uttara teaches this doctrine to the monks, namely, well, it is from time to time to review one's own fault, to review another's, to review one's own attainments, to review another's. Yes, certainly, Deva King. But pray, sir, is this the Venerable Uttara's own saying, or is it the word of that exalted one, Arahant Sammasambuddha? Now, Deva King, I will give you an analogy, for it is by analogy that men of intelligence understand the meaning of what is said. Imagine, O King, a great heap of grain near some village or market town, from which country folk carry away corn on pingos or in baskets, in lap or hand. And if one should approach the folk and question them, saying, "From where bring you this corn?" how would those folk in explaining best explain? They would best explain the matter, sir, by saying, "We bring it from that great heap of grain." Even so, O King, whatsoever be well spoken, all that is the word of the Exalted One, Arahant Sammasambuddha, wholly based thereon is both what we and others say. It is marvelous, it is wonderful, sir, how truly this has been said by the Venerable Uttara. Whatsoever be well spoken, all that is the word of the Exalted One, Arahant Sammasambuddha, wholly based thereon is what we and others say. And then Sakadeva Raja continued. He said, once, not long after the departure of Devadatta, the Exalted One was dwelling on Vulture's Peak near Rajagaha. Then the Exalted One spoke thus to the monks concerning Devadatta. Monks, well it is for a monk to review from time to time his own faults. Well it is for a monk to review from time to time another's faults. Well it is for a monk to review from time to time his own attainments. Well it is for a monk to review from time to time another's attainments. Monks, mastered by 8 wrong states, Devadatta, with his mind out of control, became one doomed to suffer in hell, in perdition, dwelling there for a kalpa, that is a world cycle, irretrievable. By what aid? Mastered by gain, by loss, by fame, by obscurity, by honor, by lack of honor, by evil intentions, by evil friendship. With his mind out of control, Devadatta became one doomed to suffer in hell, in perdition, dwelling there a kalpa, irretrievable. Mastered by these 8, Devadatta became irretrievable. Monks, well it is that a monk should live mastering gain, loss, fame, obscurity, honor, lack of honor, evil intentions and evil friendship which arise. And why, and for what good purpose should a monk live mastering gain, loss and such states which arise? Monks, when a monk lives with gain, loss, fame, obscurity, honor, lack of honor, evil intentions and evil friendship which arise unmastered, there arise the asavas, full of distress and anguish. But when those states are mastered, those asavas, full of distress and anguish, are not. For this good purpose, monks, a monk should master those states and so abide. Wherefore, monks, train yourselves thus. We will live mastering gain which arises, mastering loss, fame, obscurity, honor, lack of honor, evil intentions, mastering evil friendship which arises. Train yourselves thus, monks. And then the Sakadeva Raja told the Venerable Uttara, "Worthy Uttara, this is a Dhamma discourse, nowhere honored among the 4 companies, namely the monks, nuns, and lay disciples, both men and women. Sir, let the Venerable Uttara learn by heart this Dhamma discourse. Let him master this Dhamma discourse. Let him bear it in mind. This Dhamma discourse, sir, is charged with good. It is the first principle of holy living." That's the end of the sutta. This sutta is quite interesting because you see, a monk is teaching Dhamma and the Devas, they know. And then when they know, they discuss it among themselves. And then Sakadeva Raja came to talk with this Venerable Uttara, which shows that the Venerable Uttara has some psychic ability. He can see the Deva and talk to the Deva. And then this Sakadeva Raja told the Venerable Uttara, quoted another sutta that the Buddha spoke, and he asked the Venerable Anguttara to teach the monks and nuns and the lay disciples this sutta, because apparently they seem to have forgotten about it. They don't practice this sutta. So Sakadeva Raja himself, you can see, is quite familiar with the suttas. Book of the chapter of the 8th. There's many important suttas in this book. Now we come to 8.1.9. The Buddha said, monks, one might say, speaking rightly of Nanda, he is a clansman. One might say he is strong. One might say he is handsome. One might say, speaking rightly of him, he is very passionate. Monks, unless he keep the doors of the senses guarded, be moderate in eating, be watchful or wakeful, unless he have mindfulness and self and awareness, how can Nanda live the holy life in all its purity? Monks, this is the way for Nanda to guard the doors of the senses. Monks, if Nanda has occasion to look to the eastern quarter, concentrating his whole attention, he gazes thereat, reflecting, thus while I look to the eastern quarter, there shall not flow in upon me covetousness, nor discontent, nor evil, nor any unwholesome state. Thus in this way is he aware. If he has occasion to look to the western quarter, to the northern quarter, to the southern quarter, to the zenith, to the nadir, to the points between the quarters, concentrating his whole attention, he gazes thereat, reflecting, thus while I look to the points between the quarters, covetousness and the rest shall not flow in upon me. Thus in this way is he aware. Monks, this is the way for Nanda to guard the doors of the senses. Monks, this is the way for Nanda to be moderate in eating. Monks, herein Nanda eats his food with orderly reflection, not for amusement, for lust, for adornment, for beauty, but to suffice for the sustaining and nourishment of his body, to appease hunger, and to aid the practice of the holy life. He reflects, in this way I shall crush out the old feelings and not allow any new feelings to arise, and I shall continue to dwell in blamelessness and comfort. Monks, this is the way for Nanda to be moderate in eating. Monks, this is the way for Nanda to watchfulness or wakefulness. Monks, herein by day Nanda purges his mind of thoughts that hinder, when walking, when sitting down. So too during the first watch of the night. During the middle watch, he lies like a lion on his right side, with foot covering foot, mindful and aware, intent upon the thought of getting up. Getting up in the last watch of the night, he purges his mind of thoughts that hinder, when walking and when sitting. Monks, this is the way for Nanda to watchfulness. Monks, this is the way for Nanda to mindfulness and awareness. Monks, herein to Nanda recognize feelings rise, recognize they endure, recognize they set, recognize perceptions rise, recognize they endure, recognize they set, recognize reflections rise, recognize they endure, recognize they set. Monks, this is the way for Nanda to mindfulness and awareness. Monks, unless Nanda keep the doors of the senses guarded, be moderate in eating, be watchful, unless he have mindfulness and awareness, how can Nanda live the holy life in all its purity? That's the end of the sutta. So you see, in describing Nanda, who is supposed to be a half-brother, I think, of the Buddha, the Buddha said he is strong, he is handsome, he is very passionate. So unless he practice these few things, unless he keep the doors of the senses guarded, be moderate in eating, be watchful or wakeful, and have mindfulness and awareness, it will be difficult for Nanda to live the holy life in all its purity. And concerning these few things that he has to practice, for watchfulness or wakefulness, the Buddha said he purges his mind of thoughts that hinder when walking, when sitting. And then during the first watch of the night, during the middle watch, the first watch of the night is the time from 6 to 10 p.m. The middle watch is from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. And the last watch is from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. And then the last part is for Nanda to practice Sati Sampajanya. You notice here the description of Sati Sampajanya is a little different from a few other suttas. Like in the Satipatthana Sutta, when the Buddha describes Sati Sampajanya, mindfulness and awareness, the Buddha described being aware of the bodily actions. That means when he's walking, he knows he's walking. When he's sitting, he knows he's sitting. When he's eating, he's aware he's eating. When he's changing his clothes, he knows that he's changing his clothes or his robes, and whatever other bodily action. But here, the Buddha is talking about mindfulness and awareness of the mind, the working of the mind. Recognize feelings rise, recognize they endure, recognize they set, recognize perceptions rise, recognize they endure, recognize they set, recognize reflections or thoughts rise, recognize they endure, recognize they set. So in other words, here, the other aspect of mindfulness and awareness is the watching the mind. And in fact, watching the mind is more important than the bodily actions. When we are aware of the bodily actions, it just helps to keep us mindful so that our mind is not scattered. But here, when feelings, perceptions, and reflections or thoughts rise, then we recognize them. We are aware that we always have to remember concerning the body and the mind that these 5 khandhas, these 5 aggregates are not I, not mine, not myself. So if we recognize these feelings, these perceptions and these thoughts, and we recognize them as not I, not mine and not myself, then we don't get we are not moved by them. We are not swayed by them. We adopt like an observer attitude. We just observe it with equanimity. Then we see things as they really are, instead of getting moved by those states. And now we come to the next sutta, 8.1.10, another important sutta. Once the Exalted One was dwelling in Champa on the banks of the Gagara lake. Now at that time the monks had occasion to reprove a monk for some offense, and that monk, being so reproved, evaded the question by another, turned the issue aside, and showed temper, ill will, and sulkiness. Then the Exalted One said to them, "Eject this person, monks. Throw out this person, monks. This person ought to be turned away, monks. Why should other people plague you? Herein, monks, the going out, coming in, gazing up, looking around, stretching, bending, bearing of cloak, bowl and robe of that person seems just the same as the monks of worth, so long as the monks see not his fault. But when they see it, at once they know. This is the very corruption of a recluse, the chaff of a recluse, the sweepings of a recluse. Realizing this, they oust him from their midst there forthwith. And why? They say, let him not corrupt the other monks who are of worth. Monks, just as when a barley plot is ready, the corruption of barley, the chaff of barley, the sweepings of barley may appear with root the same as the rest of the barley of worth, with stalk the same, with blade the same, so long as the head does not come forth. But when the head appears, they know at once, this is the very corruption of barley, the chaff of barley, the sweepings of barley. Realizing this, they pull it out, roots and all, and throw it outside the barley plot. And why? They say, let it not corrupt the barley of worth. In just the same way, monks, some persons going out, coming in, and so forth, seems just the same as the monks of worth, so long as they see not his fault. But when they realize this is the very corruption of a recluse, the chaff of a recluse, they oust him from their midst, so that he corrupt not the monks of worth. Monks, just as when a great heap of corn is winnowed, the grain which is sound and has substance is piled in one place, but that of poor quality, mere chaff, the wind carries to one side. At once the farmers with brooms sweep it still further away. And why? They say, let it not corrupt the corn of worth. In just the same way, monks, some persons going out, coming in, and so forth, seems just the same as the monks of worth, so long as they see not his fault. But when they realize this is the very corruption of a recluse, the chaff of a recluse, the sweepings of a recluse, they oust him from their midst, so that he corrupt not the monks of worth. Monks, suppose a man wants some water pipes. He enters a wood with a sharp axe, and taps on this and that tree with the axe handle. Then those trees which are sound and have hearts, when struck with the axe handle, resound sharply, while those rotten to the core, sodden and mouldy, when struck, give forth a hollow sound. And such he at once cuts at the root, then at the top, and when he has done so, he cleans out the inside until it is thoroughly clean. Then he joins the water pipes together. In just the same way, monks, a person's going out, coming in, gazing up, looking around, stretching or bending, bearing cloak, bowl or robe, is just the same as that of a worthy monk, so long as the monks see not his fault. But when they see it, they know at once, this is the very corruption of a recluse, the chaff of a recluse, the sweepings of a recluse. Realizing this, they at once oust him from their midst. And why? They say, let him not corrupt the other monks of worth. That's the end of the sutta. So in this sutta, you can see the Buddha is talking about good monks and sometimes what he calls fraud monks, corrupt monks. And it is easier for a monk to judge another monk because they live side by side and they know how the other person thinks and acts, etc. It's not easy for a lay person to judge a monk. So sometimes people judge a monk by the way they walk, by the way they appear to be mindful and austere and all that. But that's not the way to judge a monk. It's actually the inside. It's the mind of a monk, whether the mind is calm, whether the mind is calm or always active and perturbed, whether the mind is pure inside or full of vulgar and dirty thoughts, etc. So that's why it's difficult to judge. And just like it's difficult to judge any person, to stay with that person for a long time, to be very observant, and you have to be quite intelligent, and after a long time, then you know a person. And one of the ways to judge a monk also is if a monk does not like to follow the rules of regulations, then if he's around, then he influences other monks. Because in some monasteries, the Vinaya, the discipline is quite strict, and there's a lot of rules and regulations. Because those monks who are new, they don't like to follow the rules and regulations. And then you have one who does not sort of toe the line, then he influences the others also. That is why the Buddha advised, when you have a rotten monk, you should chuck him out, throw him out of the monastery. Not all monks are the same, even though they wear the same robe.